Hi everyone, Linda here from ITTT, back this week with another live session. And this week's topic is top 10 mistakes English teachers should avoid in the EFL classroom. So, top 10 mistakes you should avoid when teaching English. All right, so that's what we're going to talk about today. I think this is going to be a really good live session. I hope you're going to learn a lot. And I know many of you guys are already teaching as well. And so maybe you can give sort of your input as well. Some of your stories, maybe some mistakes that you've made in the past that you learned from. So please feel free to share your stories. I'm obviously also going to share my own experience. So yeah, it's going to be really fun. And as always, guys, I always ask, where are you watching from today? So please leave a comment. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube. And if you're listening to this as a podcast episode, thank you so much for the download. We always turn our live sessions into podcast episodes as well. So you can go to anywhere that you get your podcast from and type in the TEFL and TESOL podcasts by ITTT, and you'll find us there. Yep. So let me know, guys, where are you right now? Where are you watching from? What country? What city? What time is it there? What's the weather like? Let me know. Let me know. I am in South Korea. It is 10:30 a.m. Friday morning, our usual time for live sessions. And the weather it does not look too bad, but we have a lot of yellow fine dust that comes all the way over from China, from the Gobi Desert, and we're getting a lot of that. So the air quality is really bad at the moment, actually. So I went out last night, and the air was pretty disgusting, and I was actually wearing a mask because even on my phone, the air quality thing said very unhealthy. So yeah, I masked up for that. I don't need that. So that's one of the things, if you're thinking about maybe moving to Korea, South Korea, China, other countries in Asia, they are dealing with bad air quality every once in a while. So that's a thing. And a lot of people, when I was living in Germany back home in Europe, that's something we don't really worry about at all. We don't check how the air quality is. So anyway, awesome, guys. So we have Daniel here. Hi, Daniel. I was actually checking yesterday in the Facebook event, who will be attending our live sessions, and I saw Daniel's name, and I was like, oh, yay, Daniel. Daniel's here. Awesome. Then we have Speak Now, Raju from India. Nice. Good morning. How are you doing? I need to check out your channel, Speak Now. That sounds interesting. Then we have Eager Foods by Fatima Riaz. Hi, how are you doing? And then we have Luciana from Sao Paulo, Brazil. I love your tips. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Luciana. I hope today's tips will be just as useful as well. Yeah, everybody else, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. And then I also want to mention, as always, we have 30% off any TEFL or TESOL course from ITTT. Again, we only share this during our live sessions, this big discount. All the other discounts you might find are less than 30%. So this is very special. So if you're not yet TEFL or TESOL certified, now is a great time to do so. And as we all know, a TEFL and a TESOL certificate is sort of your first step towards that career in teaching English. And I know many of you watching are already TEFL certified by ITTT or by another company. That's all good. That's all great. Some of you might not. So yeah, this is for you guys, or for everybody who is already certified and wants to get a specialized add-on course to add to your portfolio and things like that. So this is a great opportunity to do so. Oh, and I forgot to tell you how to do it. So you can see this QR code. And actually, I noticed that the QR codes in the last few videos did not work anymore. So I updated this QR code. I updated it, so it should work fine for anybody who is maybe scanning the QR code. But we also have a link, of course. So you can scan this QR code and it will work fine. Or you use our link. I'm going to share that with you right now in the comments. And then you can get 30% off. Okay. So this link looks like this. It ends with FB Live minus Linda. Then you know that this is the right link that will get you 30% off. Also, when you click on this, you see at the top, it says, congratulations, you get 30% off, something like that, in, I think, like a yellow font color, something. Then you'll know that this is the right link. All right. Okay, cool. Then we have Emilio. Hi, Emilio. Tuning in again from Barcelona. Nice. And Fatima Eager Foods is from Saudi Arabia. Nice. Hi, welcome. I think this is your first time watching. I don't recognize your name, but yeah, welcome, welcome. And Daniel says the weather is getting crazy in Mexico City. Some days are sunny, other days rainy, cloudy, and stormy, and so on. Oh my gosh. That's typical April weather from what it sounds like. For at least from in Germany, it's like that too. It's kind of crazy. Everything. It can even snow. I think it's supposed to snow even in Germany soon. So you get everything in April. Very, very crazy April weather. All right, good. Oh, let me turn this off. Nice. And then also, guys, please just don't forget to like and subscribe. As always, you know how it works, so you never miss any of our upcoming live sessions. We go live every week here with interesting topics. And also, on our Facebook page, we share a lot of good stuff, teaching materials that you can use in your classroom, job offers as well, and of course, other useful information about TEFL and TESOL, all that good stuff. Also, our YouTube channel. Many of you guys are watching over there. Yeah. So just like and subscribe so you're updated. Nice. Amitava. Hi, how are you doing? I am doing well. Good morning. How about you? How is it going? All right. Very good. And for those of you who are watching for the first time, let me just give a quick introduction. I'm going to make this quick. I know you guys are like, oh, we see this every time and it doesn't change. So I'm going to be quick. So my name is Linda. I am a travel writer, content creator, and also language teacher. I teach English and German. And if you're interested in teaching English in Asia, particularly in South Korea or maybe also China, you can go and check out lindagoeseast.com. That's my own website where I share stuff about living in Asia, traveling in Asia, teaching English in Asia, and all that. Also over on Instagram at Linda Goes East. I'm very active over there. I share a lot of content. So if you're interested in that, you can also always send me a DM if you want like a one-on-one conversation. No problem. Like I said before, I'm originally from Germany/USA. So my mom is German, my dad is American. And I'm based in South Korea. This is actually my 8th year in South Korea. I can't believe it. It's been so long already. And before that, I also lived in China and I taught English in China. I also worked for a online marketing company over there. And also in Korea, I taught English, of course, full-time my first year. And then I branched into basically freelance teaching. And also working for ITTT. So I've taught business English classes, of course, children, adults, university students, everything. I also started teaching English online in 2020, I believe it was, during COVID. I'm still doing that now too. So a lot of exciting stuff. And then the TEFL TESOL side of things, that's why I'm here, of course, because I represent and I work for ITTT, which stands for International TEFL and TESOL Training. And you can find us at teflcourse.net. And ITTT is a leading TEFL and TESOL course provider worldwide. We've been around since 1997. So one of the oldest TEFL and TESOL course providers out there. And yeah, we help people basically live the dream of teaching English abroad or online or nowadays also very popular becoming a digital nomad, an online English teacher, and living in different countries abroad. So this is all possible with a TEFL or a TESOL certificate. Amitava says, it's very hot and humid here in Calcutta, more than 40 degrees Celsius. Wow, that is very hot. I hope you're doing okay. Drink a lot of water. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, good. Then today's topic, teaching mistakes. And first, I want to maybe talk a little bit about why is it important to fix them? Why should we fix the teaching mistakes? And of course, everybody's going to make mistakes, especially as a new teacher, right? That's completely normal to make mistakes. And even older teachers, more teachers with more experience, right? We always make mistakes. But it's important to recognize the mistakes and then just do your best to improve them and fix them, basically. So let's have a look at why it is important to fix these mistakes. And I'm going to make myself smaller. So first of all, you should fix these teaching mistakes to create a safe learning environment for your students. That's kind of the first reason, and a very important reason. If your students feel safe in the classroom, then they're more successful. They're going to be more successful. They're going to learn better. They're going to be more confident and in speaking English and using English, and they're going to have more fun and they're going to learn better. The second reason is, if you eliminate teaching mistakes, you will have more. You can make the most of the time available, right? Usually, maybe you only have a limited time of with your classes, with your students every day or every week, a couple times a week. So you want to make sure your lessons and your classes are as effective as possible, as smooth as possible. So when you eliminate these mistakes, teaching mistakes, you really make the most of your time available without any extra distractions and things, and you can focus on what is important. And that leads us to number 3 here: ensure effective learning. So reason number 1 and reason number 2 kind of it all kind of bounces off of each other. So number 3, ensure effective learning. When you fix mistakes, when everything's going smoothly, you have effective learning for your students, for every single student in your class, and also for yourself. And that is basically what you want and why you want to fix these teaching mistakes. Now, I'm not going to say, of course, that all of your lessons are going to be perfect. They are not going to be perfect because you can never anticipate what might happen. And especially in the beginning, it takes time to find your own teaching style, to get to know your students. But what today is going to be about is just to identify the 10 top mistakes that many teachers make, and maybe just giving you the tools and the understanding to recognize these mistakes if you make them, and then what you can do once you've identified, hey, I make this mistake, what can I do now? How can I be better? We all want to be better teachers, right? There's no perfect teacher out there, but we're trying to be we're trying to get as close to being the perfect teacher as possible, right? Okay, good. So, yeah, let's jump in. We have 10 mistakes to cover, so there's quite a lot of information. And like I said, if anybody has some input, some feedback, maybe you guys made this mistake in the past and how you dealt with it, please just leave a comment. That would be really cool to get your perspective on it. I'm, of course, going to share my perspective, but I would love this to be a conversation where you can also share your experience and your feedback. So maybe we can do that, and then we can see what everybody else has experienced and what we can do better in the future. Okay, at the end, of course, there will be a Q&A session. So without further ado, let's jump into the top 10 mistakes English teachers should avoid in the EFL classroom. And number 1, we have being the nice, fun teacher. And I know, especially new teachers, you really want rapport with your students. You want the students to like you. So a lot of people, me included, I think I make this mistake a lot. I try to be the nice and fun teacher, right? But this is actually can be counterproductive. So let's jump in and let's talk about it. So, because if you are the nice, fun teacher, what can happen is that you lose control of your students. They're going wild. They're like, oh, yeah, this is the fun time. The fun teacher is here. So, don't lose control. If you lose control of your students and they don't see you as a respectable teacher, there won't be any learning, right? They just think, oh, we're playing games every time. We're just having a party every lesson. So that's not very effective in learning. So, what you should do instead is to set your standards from the start and set the rules from the start. So, introduce a set of rules and, important, stick to them and be sure to follow through with the consequences. So, that's very important. Make sure that the students know that there are rules and what the consequences are. You are nice and fun, but you're also the strict teacher at the same time because there are rules and they have to obey them. So once you do that, your students, they will behave, hopefully, and it leaves more room for real fun time along the way. There we go. So there's a time for everything. There's a time for learning, there's a time for fun, and we have to have this balance, and this we can achieve with rules, basically. And so I have some examples here to show you guys how you can do this. Of course, we have all seen this stuff. For example, classroom rules. You introduce them in the beginning when you meet your students, when you meet your new class. This could be a fun first like group project that you do. You come up with a couple of rules. Usually here it's 10 or maybe 5 if they're younger students and they can't, you know, remember that many rules, but maybe 10 golden rules. You come up with them together. You involve your students in making up the rules. Of course, you give them kind of tips or help so they come up with the right rules. But of course, yeah, here it says come on time, prepare for class, eyes on the board, very important. Listen when others talk, raise your hand to speak, be respectful and kind, say please and thank you, follow directions, clean up and help out, and try your best and have fun. So these are some really great rules. This is something you can make a poster of in the beginning of your class when you meet your students so they know exactly these are the rules. If we play by the rules, everything is fun and games. If we don't, there will be consequences. Okay? So this could be something fun. And then you also want to hang this up in your classroom if you can, so that the students always see this. And then if you notice any misbehavior, you can always point to these rules. And then they remember, oh, these are our rules and these are the consequences. So let's stick to the rules. Another great way how to kind of follow through with these rules and establish good classroom management is sticker boards. So something like this, or reward charts. So I use this also in my in-class lessons and also online. This works really well, especially with younger students, of course. So everyone would have one sticker chart, and if they do something good, you give them a sticker. And then, as you can see, when the sticker board, the reward chart is full, there's some kind of reward. So maybe a game that you play, or a little gift, or something. Yeah, usually it's a little game. It's kind of easier to do. Just you play a little game once that reward chart is full, something like that. So this works really well in just keeping the class together, still keeping it fun, but also they know, oh, you have certain standards, and they want to abide by it. I think that makes sense. Oh, and where can you find this stuff? Again, I mentioned this before, but Pinterest will be a great friend. So I just put into Pinterest classroom rules or reward chart, and a ton of examples came out. So you can use this Pinterest.com and find these kind of classroom rules or reward charts that you can print out and use, or just take as inspiration. So that would be your best friend for things like this, Pinterest. Okay, so good. Number 1 was not being the fun and nice teacher, right? Let's have a look at number 2 here. Planning your lessons too quickly. So not spending enough time on lesson planning, essentially. So let's talk about that. It's very important that you don't rush the planning stage of your lessons. And lesson planning is something that a lot of teachers are worried about, especially new teachers, of course. If you've never done that before, it can be very daunting. But when you start at a new school, you will often get training in lesson planning. And also when you take a TEFL course, actually, lesson planning is a big part of our TEFL course. And you can also get lesson planning sheets. I'm going to show you that in also a second. And you can use those after your TEFL course as well. But a lot of schools, they already have set lesson plans for the teachers to use. So you will get lesson plans for your lessons a lot of times. But if they don't, you can use the lesson plan templates you received during your TEFL certification course from ITTT. And of course, like I said, during your TEFL course, you will learn exactly how to plan a lesson. But still, a lot of teachers don't emphasize lesson planning enough. They kind of just glance over it. They're just, okay, we're just going to do this and this and this page, and that's it. Okay, but then you do all these pages, and maybe you're done in 10 minutes, and you still have 30 minutes left. What are you going to do then? So plan your lessons out with thought. And in our TEFL course, we like to use the ESA methodology that you're going to learn about in the TEFL course. You have learned about in your TEFL course. And if you follow this format and keep in mind the lesson length, then there's nothing to worry about. Again, here also the second point says, ask your colleagues. So get together with your fellow teachers and see how they do their lesson planning and to kind of get input from them, right? They're usually more than happy to help out a new teacher. And also oftentimes every school kind of has their unique approach to things, their unique teaching style or lesson planning style. So there might be some resources available to you or just a certain kind of way that they do it. And if you ask your colleagues, they're more than happy just to help you out with lesson planning, of course, and kind of give you a couple of tips. So here's an example of our lesson planning sheet. So this is an empty lesson plan, and this one has 2 pages. So the front page would be this one on the left, and then this would be the second page. And I can actually give you the link to print this out. So let me see. I think this is clickable. Oh, hold on. I want to share this with you guys. Share. There we go. Share. Copy link. I hope this works. Let me take a look. So you can actually copy this. Yeah, I think it works. So should appear now. Yes, in the comment section. Looks like that. So this is made with Canva, but you can, how can I copy this link actually? For me, I'm working here with 2 computers. Okay, I think I got it. Okay, so yeah, when you click on this, you will see empty lesson plan template. And what you can do is you can click on file and download or make a copy, and then you can use this for yourself and you can fill out all the information here. Okay, first page is just kind of for you, your teacher, the class level, language points that you want to cover. What is this lesson about? You know, simple past or conditionals or whatever it is. Teaching aids you're going to use like worksheets, Blackboard, whiteboard, computer, whatever. Format would be usually ESA, the ESA method. Date and time, of course, when your lesson is. Expected number of students you put in there. And then you also put in, you actually learn this in your TEFL course with the learner objectives, personal aims, problems for the students, problems for the teacher, and solutions. So this you will learn during your TEFL course. And then page 2 is the lesson procedure. So you put in exactly the lesson, how it should basically flow. And phase means if you follow the ESA methodology, first phase would be E, engage. Second phase would be S, study. Last phase would be A, activate. And then timing, how long each phase would be. And interaction, again, this is something you learn in your TEFL course. Is it teacher to student, student to teacher, student to student. So you can put that in. And then notes, of course, room for notes. And you can use this in your future classes. There we go. So have a look. If you want, you can use these for your lessons, and that will really help you, especially new teachers, to kind of just structure everything out and yeah, really bring this into your classroom so you can refer to it. So don't skip any time on lesson planning. It's very important. Okay, then we have number 3, if it'll let me. Okay. All right. So you're making your lesson plan, but then mistake number 3 is using the same lesson plan for all lessons, right? That doesn't work. Or for all classes. Okay. So that's a big mistake. Why? Let's have a look. So it says you can't teach all levels of students in the same way. Now, of course, this does not mean you need to plan every single lesson from scratch. You can tweak a lesson plan and adapt activities to make it suitable for each level. So you're teaching, for example, different classes, right? But all the classes have usually different levels, right? There would be a lower level class, like a beginner class, an intermediate, and advanced, but they might learn similar topics, similar things. But of course, you can't use your beginner lesson plan for an advanced class and an advanced lesson plan for a beginner class. So you have to tweak and adapt these, right? And a great way, if you're not sure, what level your classes are yet and which lesson plans you should use, a great way to do this is to start a new course or a new class, a new semester, whatever it is, with a level test. So this way you can assess the student's level and you can prepare your lesson plans accordingly. Now, in the beginning, if you are a new teacher, you might not have a lot of lesson plans yet, right? So this is something that you will kind of accumulate over time, right? The more you teach, the more lesson plans you will have at your disposal. When you do a lesson plan for a specific class, always save it, right? For this situation that when you teach maybe the same topic, like with a different class, you can take this lesson plan and tweak it for this new class, and you don't have to do it from scratch. Because the thing with lesson planning is usually you want to minimize your time for lesson planning, right? But don't rush it. But the less time you focus on lesson planning, the more time you have for other things. And especially if you teach online, for example, if you are a freelance teacher, the lesson planning time, you're not getting paid for that, right? So make it as effective as possible. In the beginning, it's probably going to take more time when you're new and you don't have that many lesson plans yet. But once you've done a couple months of teaching, a couple of weeks of teaching, you can take the same lesson plans and tweak them and adapt them for different students and different classes. So, but don't use the same lesson plan for all of the lessons because you need to look at your students' needs and levels. I hope that makes sense. All right, good. Yeah. Number 4. Let's talk about this. Number 4 mistake that you can make in the EFL classroom is either talking too quickly or too slowly. Let's have a look at that. It's kind of self-explanatory, but what does speaking too quickly do? When you speak too quickly, listeners get strained too much and get tired of listening to a very fast speaker. And at the same time, if you speak too slowly, listeners get bored too easily listening to a very slow pace. So, again, you always need to adapt your speaking kind of to your audience, right? And this is not only in teaching, this is everywhere. But for example, if you're teaching beginner students, of course, you need to use a different sort of language, different pace than if you were speaking with advanced students, right? So you need to find just the right pace for this. And again, you should adapt this to your lessons. But a lot of teachers, and me included, I've done this in the past, you get passionate about teaching and you're in the moment and you just start talking like you were talking with your friends, like this, or like a native level speed. And if you're teaching younger learners, beginner learners, it's very hard for them to understand. So you need to kind of take a step back. And this is what a lot of people call the teacher voice, right? Uh, once you've taught a couple of weeks, months, years, you're kind of gonna develop this teacher's voice. It's a very different way of speaking. But that's exactly that what we're talking about, and it's just effective. And then at the same time, speaking too slowly, or then this would be the point, don't oversimplify. So this is also a big mistake a lot of teachers make, and I have made this in the past as well. So things like leaving out articles like the, his, or her. So basically, you are mimicking the patterns in which the students speak. This is very counterproductive behavior, right? When you're teaching foreign students in a different country. My experience, of course, is mostly in Asia. For example, Korean, Chinese students, they don't have articles at all. So for them, that is a very difficult concept. And then when they speak in English, they usually leave them out, right? I take car to school or something like that. And if you're following this pattern because you want to simplify it, you want them to understand you, it's not a good thing to do. It's actually counterproductive, and it fails to model the correct use of the English language. Um, this might sound weird now to you guys if you don't have any experience teaching, but once you're in there, it's so easy to kind of mimic your students' language patterns because you kind of want them to understand what you're saying. So you want to simplify it. But the key here is just don't oversimplify. What you can do instead is just make shorter sentences, you know, um, don't use too long sentences, too complicated words, right? Adjust your speech, the pace, and the words you use to your students, but don't make it too easy at the same time. So, for example, this would be a speech speed. Too slow, right, is not good. Too fast is not good. You need to find the middle way that is just right. And also, as a teacher, you should speak at a regular pace. And a good strategy is to take short pauses at the end of a sentence so that the students know this is the end of the sentence, and it gives them time to think what you said about what you said, and then maybe ask questions if they have a question, right? So take pauses at the end of sentences and at the end of like thoughts. I think that's a good strategy to do. um and this is actually one of the harder things, I have to say, because when you're in the classroom and you're passionate about it, you're in the moment, it's so hard to, or it's so easy to get carried away and to speak very fast. But just remind yourself, and you can ask your students to remind you as well, right? You can tell your students, hey, if I'm speaking too fast, just say, hey, Linda teacher, slow down, or something like that. And they love, like, they love doing that to teachers, right? So they're gonna stay on top of it for sure. Okay, this is number 4, I think. So number 5, this is also a very important point. So thinking too short term. All right, thinking too short term. Let's have a look at this. So this is something we talked about already with lesson planning, but basically, don't teach without a set plan. So this does not only involve the lesson planning, but you need to think long term and plan out the whole course, semester, or year. Okay, so don't only go from lesson to lesson, right? We talk about lesson planning, make a lesson plan for every lesson, but at the same time, before you do that, actually think about the whole, either semester, the whole year, or the whole course, length of the course, depending on, what kind of lesson you teach. Do you teach at a school with the whole school year? Do you teach at like a private language academy with like 6-week, 4-week courses? Whatever it is, you need to think long term, right? And define the learning goals and when you need to reach them. Okay. So, for example, we have, like, at the end of the year, all of the students are going to take this big test, right? So that's the goal. This is the goal, and then you split up the whole year into little pieces, and then you would put the individual lesson plans into it, right? So having a curriculum is almost always necessary when teaching English abroad. And many schools have their own set schedules that the teachers need to adhere to. So that's really good. The school also that I worked for, they actually already had all the whole curriculum. They had all the lesson plans. So they just gave this to me and were like, yeah, this is the whole year. This is what you need to teach and when you need to teach it. But you as a teacher, you need to stay on top of that, of course. So you need to know exactly when the students need to take a test or an exam, and you need to plan your lessons accordingly. Now, a lot of schools also don't give you that, right? They give the teacher the freedom to plan out the whole year, the whole semester, how you want, right? And then also, you shouldn't go from lesson to lesson just with individual lesson plans. You should sit down, and this is going to save you so much time. It's a lot of work in the beginning, but it's going to save you so much time throughout the whole year when you sit down at the beginning of the class and you think about, okay, we have 6 months, or we have a year, or we have 6 weeks, whatever it is, and this is our goal, and this is what we want to learn, and then you split it up week by week, lesson by lesson. So don't think too short term. Just don't think about, oh, what am I going to teach next class? No. Think about, what am I going to teach this whole year? When are they taking the test? When is this happening? How much time do we have? How many units do we want to fit in? And then you plan out the whole year. So I've seen so many teachers who come in without a plan. Oh, this day, today we're going to do this. The next day we're going to do this. It's like, and it doesn't flow. It's all these individual topics that together don't make any sense. And then the students can tell, right? It doesn't make sense to them. As a good teacher, you want to have topics that kind of connect to each other, right? Build upon each other. And if you don't do that, the students are getting confused. It's just not a good feeling and a good look. It's not very effective. So think long term. Think long term is the key point here. Perfect. Good. Then number 6, I think, is also super, super important. And also, by the way, guys, if you have any additional feedback, any input here, just leave a comment about anything that I'm saying. If you're like, hey, no, I actually don't agree with this, you should do this, or I have done this in the past, let me know. Let me know in the comments. Feel free to just give me input. Okay. Yeah. Number 6, like I said, I think it's another important point. A lot of people make this mistake. A lot of new teachers make this mistake, but also older teachers. And I think it also depends on what generation you are, what kind of teacher you are, and what kind of teacher you want to be. So obsessing over correct grammar. Let's have a look. So I think this is a little bit controversial, maybe for some of you guys. So I'm really curious to know what you guys think. But here it says, what I think is, don't correct every single mistake. Don't correct every single mistake. So while you should definitely correct mistakes in written work, written tests, written homework, whatever it is, it's actually not recommended to be just as strict in conversational English, right? And the key here is fluency is more important than accuracy. So a student who is more fluent than accurate can be more successful at communicating than someone who is more accurate than fluent, right? So fluency, even if your grammar isn't perfect, but you're fluent, you're talking, right? You're making sentences, maybe you're not using the right tense or whatever, but you're fluent, and this communication is actually going to be a lot more successful than if you're not that fluent, but maybe you're using the perfect grammar, right? So that's basically what this all means. And this is because communication is a fluid concept and it involves more than one participant. And the other participant may still be able to understand the communication, even if the rate of accuracy of the speaker is not very high. So even if your grammar is terrible, but you're fluent, you're spitting out a lot of words, you're making sentences, communication will still work. Whereas if you use perfect grammar, but you're not talking, you're not saying, you're not spitting out any words, they're not going to understand you. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically that concept. And I feel like a lot of older teachers um, are too hung up on the correct grammar. And this might also be a cultural thing. I definitely notice a lot of students in Asia, they really want to be corrected, or I've even had parents tell me, you need to correct every single mistake my child makes. But I personally don't think that that is very effective. And I am more of the opinion, like what is stated here, that fluency is far more important than accuracy. And I think this ties also into where a lot of, depending on, the country where you teach, but some education systems are just more laid out to reading, writing, passing tests and correct answers and grammar stuff, whereas some other education systems focus more on speaking and communicating. And this might also depend on the school that you work at. So some schools are more uh, if you teach more conversation classes, of course fluency is more important. But if you teach a class that's it's a grammar class, then of course you want to correct more, probably. So what I feel like, what I always do with my students, okay, and I'm just going to make myself bigger here. What I always do with my students, I do a lot of conversation classes, that's true, but we also do like half conversation, and then we also talk about grammar things. So my strategy is usually, when I have a conversation with my students and they make a mistake, I either ask a question with the correct word and then have them repeat it in the correct form. And then if they again make the mistake and they don't say it in the correct form, I would kind of maybe nudge them a little bit, like, oh, you go yesterday to school, or you went to school yesterday. And then they like, oh yeah, I went to school yesterday. So don't make it like, hey, this is the mistake. No, but make it just casual conversation, and you bring up these little mistakes and then have them correct themselves. Does that make sense? I hope I'm making sense. But that's basically what I do, and I find that that works a lot better. A lot of people, actually, also depends on the culture that you teach in, they don't like confrontation. So if you're like, oh no, this is wrong, what you said is wrong, this can be very direct in some cultures, and then they can actually get intimidated and even scared to speak up in the future. So that's another important point why I don't like correcting every single mistake. Again, I think the more you talk to your students in like a natural way, with the correct grammar, with the correct words, etc., then they pick it up naturally, right? Like how, again, young babies or children learn a language is by listening and repeating. So this is more my strategy. Fluency is more important than accuracy. And I'm curious about what you guys think about this. So maybe let's take a quick break here. Let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Is fluency more important than accuracy? Or do you think, no, you should correct every single mistake? That is more important. Accuracy is more important than fluency. What do you think? Let me know. I'm really curious. Because there is a huge debate. And I do feel like in the past it was a lot more like, no, accuracy is more important, it has to be accurate. But I think these days these days I think it's a lot more important that there's a lot more importance put on fluency over accuracy. But let me know, guys, please let me know in the comments. I'm not moving on from this until somebody tells me what they think. If you agree with me, yes, fluency is more important than accuracy, or you're like, no, I think it needs to be accurate. That's the most important thing. Let me know. Danielle, okay, great. Danielle says, in the past, some teachers used to focus more on grammar and reading than speaking. Nowadays, some teaching schools, especially online schools, are doing the opposite. I think there should be a balance between both sides. Yes, I absolutely agree. Balance is the key, right? And I think especially if you are doing like a conversation class or a conversation exercise, don't interrupt your students when they're talking and when they're having a debate or a conversation, right? Don't interrupt them saying like, oh no, you used the wrong grammar, you used the wrong word. So then they again might get scared and intimidated to speak up in the future. So I think what you can do in this case, listen to your students talk and take notes of any mistakes they made and then point it out later. Right? When you have a group exercise, you put them up in pairs and groups, whatever, and they talk amongst each other. Walk around the room, listen to what they say, and just take notes of any mistakes that you hear, and then point them out after the exercise is over. Be like, okay, great, well done, guys. And here are some things that I have noticed. Some of you guys say, do we say, oh, I go to school yesterday, or do we say I went to school yesterday? And then you can put this up on the board and you can have a whole like group discussion about the mistakes. But you're not interrupting during the exercise and interrupting the flow and the fluency of the students. So I agree with Daniel here. Definitely. Yeah. Great. If anybody else has an opinion, also please put them in the comments. I'm really curious to see what you guys think about this fluency versus accuracy debate. But for now, we're just moving on to number 7. But please, if somebody else has a comment, I'm going to still put it up here after. Okay, mistake number 7 that we're going to talk about here is seeing each student as the same. Okay, that's also very important. Let's have a look. Oh, here we go. So, again, don't use the same lesson plan for all of your lessons. After a couple of lessons, you will know your students better and you can tweak your teaching style to fit their needs. And with time, you will know exactly where the strengths and weaknesses lie in every single student. So this is more focused on every single student. So even in one class, you can't teach every student the same way, right? And this is a bit of a challenge because how do you balance this teaching everyone versus you can't focus on 30 little children, right? But somehow, if you do it right, you can, right? In certain ways. So don't teach every single student the same way. Some students require, for example, more help with writing, while others, they need more help with their reading skills. So what you can do either in the classroom, you can kind of split them up into different groups. And then this would be the group that focuses more on reading. This is the group that focuses more on writing. You can do that as well. And you can also give individual students different homework, for example, and inform their parents of what needs to be improved. So you can tell the parents, oh, Lisa, she needs more help with reading, or Anna, she needs to work more on her writing, so I gave her special writing homework. Things like that, okay? You as a teacher really need to identify the weaknesses, the strengths as well, but focus on the weaknesses, of course, to improve these weaknesses, right? So that is this point here. And you can do that with, again, homework, assigning different homework, doing different activities with other students during the class time, pairing them up with one student. This is very popular, right? Pairing 2 students up, one who's good at reading with one who's not good at reading, so they can help out each other, right? One who's good at writing and not good at writing, so they can help out each other. So this is a very good strategy to do that. Okay, and I see some comments coming in with the accuracy and fluency thing, so let me pick that up here. Luis Alberto, thank you for commenting. It's important to take into account students' level of English as well. If they're just beginners, it would be ideal if we correct them as we can. But if they're advanced learners, fluency is more important. Yeah, I also agree with that. Absolutely. I agree with that because having this strong foundation is very important. Having very accurate, strong, basic language skills is very important. So I agree with that as well, for sure. For sure. And then we have John Michael here. Communication is what is key. Grammar is important insofar as it doesn't impede communication. Perfect. Perfect. I love that. Yes, absolutely. I agree with that as well. Thank you guys. I think we're all on the same page here. I love it. Love it. Cool. Good. Yep. We just talked about this. Again, you can assign different homework, just identify the weaknesses of your students, and make sure that every student is heard and every student's weaknesses is kind of worked on. And that's one of the big challenges as a teacher, right? But that's also what makes it so rewarding when you see every student's weaknesses get better and you can turn it into strengths. That's what it's all about as a teacher, right? Number 8 kind of also ties into this, right? Ignoring your students' goals. Big mistake. Ignoring your students' goals. Okay. Um, let's have a look at this. So, important, of course, you are the teacher, but you need to teach so that the students can reach their goal, right? You can't just, maybe you're like, oh, I want to teach this, but that's not related to their goal at all, right? So define the goals of your students, excuse me. Every group of students has different needs and goals that need to be fulfilled by the teacher. So that's very important. Usually, you will know what the goal is before you start teaching them. So this could be like you're teaching a class for, like a IELTS prep class. Then what's the goal? To pass the IELTS, right? And everything that is not related to IELTS, you shouldn't actually be teaching, right? Or that much. Okay? Or the goal is they are interviewing in English at a company and you need to prep them, like interview preparation in English. So focus on that, focus on the goal. Is it then super important to teach them conditionals? Maybe not. Okay. So identify the goals of your students and you will know because the school will usually tell you, hey, this is IELTS prep class or this is an English interview class, whatever it is, and you will know the goal, but just don't ignore it then, right? Make that your goal, also your goal, right? So stick to what your students actually need. Be sure you know exactly what your students need and don't spend too much time on things they will not need. At the same time, make sure they learn everything they will need to reach their goals, right? It's very simple. But a lot of teachers, again, because we fall into this routine, you have your lesson plans. So it's very tempting because you want to use your pre-made lesson plans to just teach that what you've taught to like 10 other students in the past, but maybe that's not what your current students actually need, right? So don't ignore your students' goals. Identify exactly what it is they want to learn, what they need to learn, and then structure your lessons and make your lesson plans around these topics that your students can reach the goals, right? Maybe your students need to learn how to write a uh, English resume and cover letter. So then you need to focus on that most of the time, not on debate, for example. So I think that makes sense for all of us, but just wanted to put that in there. I hope that makes sense for all of us. Oh yeah, and I wanted to share this. This is like the basically a strategy for goal setting and reaching your goals. Not only in teaching, of course, but this works in everyday life for all of us. So if you follow this smart technique here, then you will be good. So S stands for specify, clearly state your goal. For your students, clearly identify your goal, speak with your students to understand the goal. M would be measurable. So this says ensure you can measure success. And how can you measure success? With testing. So give them regular tests, right? Put tests in so you can measure the success. Where are you, in your goal, reaching your goal on your journey? Attainable, that's also very important. So set goals you can achieve, right? And this is also sometimes you need to have a conversation with your students. If, for example, a student comes up to you and says, yeah, he's like a beginner student, but they're like, yeah, I want to be like level C1. So that's near native level like next year. maybe that's not so attainable. Maybe you need to have a conversation with the student, be like, okay, look, you're at A2 right now, reaching C1 next year is maybe not, maybe too high a goal. I think we cannot achieve this. Let's, come down a little bit. So don't overestimate, don't put too much of a goal on there. Keep it realistic. R is relevant, and this is something that we just talked about. So relevant. Focus on the things that are relevant to achieve this goal. So again, if the student has to, the class is about interviewing in English, interviews, cover letters, resumes in English, focus on these things and don't focus on debating or talking about hobby. Well, hobbies could kind of tie into that too, but you know what I'm saying. Don't focus on environment, for example, teaching about, I don't know, environment, reuse, recycle, etc. So keep it relevant to the goal that you want to teach, that you want to reach, and your students want to reach. And then T is time based. Set a deadline for completion. And usually with teaching, when you have a course or a class, there'll be the deadline will already be there, right? So for example, the test is in 6 months, or the interview is in 4 weeks, whatever it is. You have a clear deadline for these things as a teacher, you already know, but just don't forget, right? And keep that in your mind, right? Oh, so we have 6 weeks. We want to learn this and this and this and this. And then you plan out this whole thing. Think long term. This kind of also ties into this, what we talked about earlier. So just keep that in mind. If you follow these steps, then your goal setting and identifying goals of your students will be easier, right? And you can have a conversation with your students at the beginning and go through this, right? So that you're all on the same page as well. Okay. Awesome. Then number 9. Oh, I love this point as well. So this is assuming you are the only teacher in the room. Big mistake, right? Big mistake, especially for teaching English abroad in a different country with other people from other countries. I learned so much from my students teaching in China, teaching in Korea, teaching Japanese students online. I learned so much from them. So don't go in with the attitude like, oh, yeah, I'm the only teacher in the room, so everybody listen to me and listen to only what I have to say. No, make it so that you can exchange ideas. Also, use this to your advantage. Discussions about various topics are a great way to exchange ideas and learn something new about your adopted country and the culture, right? So if you're moving to Korea, to China, to, I don't know, Mexico, wherever you're moving to, yeah, this is usually, these are the most fun lessons that you can have, these exchange and debate and discussing stuff with your students. That's usually the most fun lessons of all, right? They are eager to share their culture with you, and they're eager to learn about your culture. So it's a great exchange. And just always be open-minded and allow your students to share information with you, and you will create an interesting and meaningful EFL classroom. And because they're eager to learn about your background, your culture, and they're also eager to share their culture, it's great because they like talking about it. And so again, communication is encouraged, and it's just really fun. And you can learn a lot from, about your new country as well. So I learned so many things when talking. And it's great because if there's any festivals or anything like that, they explain it in English, and usually that's also really helpful for them because they would normally never do that, right? Like local customs and festivals, they usually just talk about this in their own language, and they never really had to think about, oh yeah, this is different in other countries, so how can I explain that to somebody who doesn't know what that is, but that's really natural to me, right? So that is really good for communication and getting them to talk in English. And again, you learn so much from them as well. And then the last point here is taking the fun out of it. And I'm sure none of you guys are actually going to do that. But yeah, I mean, it's easy also because I worked at schools where the students had to go through so much study material, right? And you as a teacher have a lot of pressure. You need to get to finish, you need to get your students to finish these 10 pages. So it's so easy, I guess, to take the fun out of things. But just keep in mind, make it fun, incorporate fun activities into your lesson plans and create a fun learning environment, because this will not only help your students pick up English quickly, but also make it fun for you as a teacher, right? It's more fun to like play a good game that's still useful for your students and they still learn something than just work through worksheets and the book. It's just more fun. So it's okay to share a joke here and there and to play a game in the classroom as long as they're related to English. So keep it related to English and you're good. A happy teacher is a good teacher. A happy teacher is a happy classroom, is happy students, is successful learning. So yeah, just make it fun. Don't just, I don't know, do book work. And that's also what you learn in your TEFL and TESOL course with lesson planning, with the ESA methodology. When you follow this, you will automatically have a fun lesson. And there's so many things you can do. Here, for example, just some things like tongue twisters. If you have like extra 5 or 10 minutes in your class or you're doing something, whatever it is, you can find a tongue twister and relate it to any kind of topic, to be honest. So you can do tongue twisters. They're super fun for students usually. Any kind of things that involve cards, card games, you can make these related to English with these little here secret code seasonal words with a little like alphabet letters. You can do that. Board games, of course. And there's so much stuff that's available for free on the internet. Again, just go on Pinterest and search ESL board game, and there will be something you can literally print out for free. You don't have to spend any time doing anything, just print it out, use it in your classroom. Also online, if you search like online, what is it, like EFL, ESL Jeopardy. So if you have access to a computer and like a projector, you can even do this and you don't have to print it out. There's so many resources available online to just make it fun. It's so much more fun, and students still learn, right? Just because it's a game doesn't mean it's not effective. Doesn't mean you just have to use your boring textbook and your boring worksheets, etc. Just make it fun. Of course, also use the book, also use worksheets, but not only. We want to have some fun every once in a while. So once you do that, you're good. Okay. Yeah, so let's recap, but I also want to read Daniel's comment here real quick. So Daniel says, it does make sense, Linda. Those are very important points to consider. Listening to students' learning goals and encouraging them to use the language as much as possible inside and outside the classroom can help them make a real breakthrough in their English. Yes, I absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. Thank you, Daniel. Yeah. Okay, then let's recap. These are the 10 mistakes, top 10 mistakes you should avoid when teaching English. And please let me know, is there a mistake I forgot that I should put on the list? Let me know in the comments. But we talked about being the nice, fun teacher. So have rules and consequences and follow through with them. Number 2 was planning your lessons too quickly and just kind of wing it. Step into the classroom and just teach whatever. No, really plan out your lessons, take the time, but don't use the same lesson plan for all the classes here. Number 3, right? Adapt them, tweak them to fit your students' needs and goals. Number 4 was talking too quickly or too slowly, right? And it's so easy to get carried away. Even me here doing these live sessions, right? I get carried away. I know sometimes I speak too fast without pauses, and I apologize. So please let me know if I do. And you can tell your students to do the same, right? Number 5 is thinking too short term. So we talked about if you only focus on what you're going to teach in the next lesson, that's not a very good strategy. You should think about the whole duration of the course, the whole duration of the school year, the semester, whatever it is, and think about, yeah, this is what we need to do, and these are the individual lessons that I'm going to teach in this period. So it all flows, it all makes sense, it all has a purpose. Number 6 was obsessing over correct grammar. So we just had this debate, fluency versus accuracy. So don't correct every single mistake your students make, especially when they're talking in conversation activities. What you can do is walk around the room, listen to the mistakes, don't interrupt them, listen to them, take note of them, and then after the activity, you can have a group discussion about all the mistakes that you heard and what the correct way is. That's a much better strategy. Number 7 was seeing each student as the same. So every student is unique, has unique strengths and weaknesses, and you need to identify these weaknesses and really give each student the attention they deserve. You can give them specific homework if they need more help with writing or they need more help with reading. You can group them up with, this is what a lot of students do, or a lot of teachers do, a strong student with a weak student so they can help each other out. Group them, make a group, if a group of students who need to focus on reading, so they get a different exercise, a group of students who need more help with writing and they get a different exercise. You have the power to do that. Number 8 ties in with this, so ignoring your students' goals, right? So this basically says focus on what is relevant for your students' goals. If they need to learn, if they need to pass an IELTS test, then they need to know all 500 vocabulary words of the IELTS. Just teach those. Don't add in other vocabulary words that are not actually relevant to what they need. Things like that. So, yeah. Number 9, assuming you are the only teacher in the room. We just talked about that. So you can learn so much from your students as well. Don't just think you're the only teacher. Also be open-minded and let them teach you about their culture and their country and their experiences as well. And then number 10, taking the fun out of it. Make it fun. Add activities in, don't just use a textbook and make it all boring so you get the pages done that you need to do. Just make it fun. So if you take a TEFL or TESOL course, you will learn how to plan your lessons in a fun way, how to incorporate fun activities. And again, Pinterest will really be your best friend. So you go to pinterest.com and you put in, I don't know, EFL, phonics, game, or something like that. And you have hundreds of results that you can use usually for free. You can print stuff out, or you can just replicate what you see on there and get some inspiration. So I hope these make sense. I hope you learned something new and maybe got some tips. And let me know if there's anything that you would add to this list today. If I forgot anything, or if anything that I said you don't really agree with, also let me know. I love to have a discussion. And then we can have a Q&A session for a little bit. Okay? So we're already in 1 hour and 8 minutes, so we're not going to do too much of Q&A, I think, today, but let's see how it goes. Let's see what your questions are. I'm open to anything. So Q&A can be questions about the topic we talked about today or anything else related to TEFL, TESOL, and teaching. So let me know if you have any questions, anything else. And I also want to mention again, we have a 30% off discount off of TEFL and TESOL courses from ITTT. So what you can do is you can scan this QR code, or I also have a link for you that you can use, and then you can save 30% off of your TEFL course. And like I said, a lot of things that I mentioned today, these mistakes, if you take a TEFL course, you're going to learn about these mistakes and you're not going to make them anymore because you learn about them in your TEFL course. So if you're like, oh no, I would have made a lot of these mistakes, maybe you should take a TEFL course. Just saying. And 30% off really will save you a lot of money, right? Don't pay full price. Use this link. Ends with FB Live minus Linda, and it'll get you 30% off. don't pay full price. Save the money. Also, if you're already certified and you want to take like a top up course, we have specialized courses teaching English online, teaching business English, teaching English to young learners. We also have the TESOL diploma course for those who are already certified. So if you're already certified, you still have options to kind of add some things to your portfolio to really stand out. This is great if you're going to apply for a teaching position in a very competitive place, right? You want to stand out. You want to have more than just the standard 120-hour certificate. All right. Well, ask me your questions, guys. Ask me your questions, and then we can all jump into the weekend. Everybody fell asleep, maybe. I was talking too much. I made it boring. We should have added a game in our session today. Make it fun. Maybe. Next time, I'll add I'm going to structure my presentation like a ESA lesson. How about that? We should do that. Oh, Daniel, I love that. Daniel says, I'd say that not taking any TEFL or TESOL course can be considered as a mistake as well. Perfect. I love it. Number 11, not taking a TEFL course. Number 12, not choosing ITTT. Number 13, not using the 30% off discount code. So we have three more mistakes. Perfect. Love it. Thanks. That's awesome. Great. Yeah. I need to add those. That's good stuff. Nice. Good. Okay, I've rolled here. Hello, may I ask, is it okay to teach with basic English only? Well, a little bit difficult. So you can take our TEFL course. Usually we recommend being a fluent in English. So you understand the TEFL and TESOL course lessons. You can read the PDFs. You understand what it's talking about. If you understand what I'm saying, I would say you're good, right? If you watch this live and you're like, yeah, I understand what you're saying, then I think your English level is high enough. It also depends on where you want to teach, where you want to teach. But usually, especially if you're a non-native English speaker and you want to teach English abroad, you want to have some kind of English proficiency test. And of course, the higher the level is, the better. So you really want to aim at C1. So basic English only might be a little bit difficult. It might be enough to teach in your own home country, right? So having a lot of teachers are also doing that. Okay, I'm a Filipino and I'm planning to teach in English. In Vietnam, I'm sorry. I was thinking. But if you're Filipino, don't you already speak pretty good English? Maybe, I don't know. Even in Korea, there's a lot of Filipino teachers, actually. So I think maybe for Vietnam, I think Vietnam nowadays also wants a lot of native English teachers. But if your background is really good, if you have teaching experience, if you have a TEFL, a TESOL, and maybe an English proficiency certificate, you can do it. Another option would be Cambodia. Or what else? Like Laos, if you want to go Southeast Asia. Vietnam can be an option if it's maybe a smaller city, not Ho Chi Minh or Hanoi. So yeah, it depends. I would have to know more about your background and your certificates, and if you have a university degree, things like that. That all matters. It all depends on the different countries. So what I always recommend, if you go to our website, teflcourse.net, let me just share the screen, maybe. Yeah, here. So this is our website. Can you see that? Okay. So if you're here on our website and then there's a job section up here, if you click on this, okay. No, that's not what I want to do. So, and then you click on the job section here. Then you're landing here. Yeah, then you're landing here. And then you could go to, if you want to teach English in Vietnam, you go down to Vietnam. You click on this, and then you see all the job offers that we have on our site for Vietnam. And then you could just click on this and see what the requirements are, basically. And then if you see, oh yeah, I fulfill, so here, see requirements, native, university degree, teaching certificates, the snow maybe. We're looking for, yeah, here. They don't really say anything. Let's see. Do they say something about requirements, native speaker, South American? Candidates should have a good understanding of English grammar and be able to explain it. So they actually hire more people from other places as well. Bachelor's degree. So you can kind of compare. Oh, here, look. And here it says, oh my gosh, sorry. C1 or IELTS 6.5 and higher, certificate for non-native. So yeah, you would have at least, you should have a C1. So go through these job offers listed on the site and see what the requirements are for them. That would be a good strategy to go through, and then you can see, oh yeah, I can go here, I can go there. Oh, Daniel, I love it. Daniel says, not watching Linda's live session is another mistake. Since I started to watch these, it's broadened my understanding about the English teaching industry. Yay! Good. Okay, so this is 14. And then Amitava, we changed this to 15. It is certainly not okay to miss learning, listening, observing, and watching every week Friday Linda's session. Oh, that's the same point. Okay, so we already have 4 more points. Thank you, guys. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Okay, Roll says, another question, ma'am. If you have a discount for PWD. Oh, what is PWD? What does that mean? PWD. I'm sorry. We do have a discount. 30. Oh, Public Works Department. There we go. I'm sorry. Is it that? Wait. We have a 30% off discount. I just shared that here. So if you scan this QR code or the link that I shared, it looks like this with FB Live minus Linda. It will get you 30% off of any TEFL or TESOL course from ITTT. And we also have the option of paying in installments. I think up to 3 installments. So do that, and then you can see like payment information once you fill out the application. And that might be also an option for you. Oh, I'm sorry. Person with disability. I'm sorry. I should have known that. I don't think we have a discount for that, but we have this regular 30% off discount. So you can use that for sure. This is for everybody. And again, we have the installment option as well. So maybe that will help you out. Good questions. Nice. We have Amit here who says hello. Hi, Amit. How are you doing? Awesome. Yeah. Also, if anybody has any other questions after this live is done, or anything about ITTT and TEFL TESOL, always you can reach out to courses at TESOL-TEFL.com via email to our amazing team over there, and they can also give you some ideas and help, of course, with your personal situation. That's always an option. Amit says, I'm still struggling to get a job and I applied in different countries, but I'm only facing rejections. I'm so sorry to hear that. Please guide me. Are you an ITTT TEFL course graduate, Amit? If you are, you can always email us at this email as well. Or if you had an ITTT contact in the past, you can email them. Okay, yes. Good. And you have access to lifetime job support. So let my team know also the struggles you've had before, and maybe we can help you out with a teaching position. You have lifetime access to lifetime job support. So our team will help you find a job. So email us, and let us know what course you took before, and we can find you in the database, of course. But yeah, we will help you out. Good. All right. Well, this is very, very good. A lot of new people here. Thank you so much for joining and asking all of your questions. We're kind of at the end now. So if there's someone who has like one final question, I can take it. And like I said, if you have any questions, even after this live, we will still get back to comments. And you can always email us at courses@tsol-tefl.com. That's always an option as well. So don't worry. We will get back to any questions that you have. And then I would just like to thank everybody who commented today and who was so active. So we had Amit and Rolled, and we had, of course, Amitava and Daniel, who are always watching. Thank you so much for the support. And John Michael and Luis Alberto. And who else was here? Emilio and Fatima and Luciana and Raju from Speak Now. So thank you so much for all of your comments today and your input and feedback. I really appreciate you always being here. And Amit says, mostly schools are hiring teachers who are currently living in their countries. I can relocate anytime. Well, it depends on where you apply. So some countries, they actually, and this is especially like South America, Latin America, and Europe a lot. So where you actually need to interview in person, where you should already be there. But other places like Middle East or Asia, you can certainly apply from outside of the country, and they will hire you through Skype video interviews and things like that. So it depends on where you want to go. So some countries, yes, you have to be in the country and interview face to face. It depends on where you want to go. So every country's different. That's why you need to do your research, and that's what you guys are doing. That's why you're here, to get as much information as possible. And I really appreciate you. And I hope everybody is having a wonderful week and a wonderful weekend coming up. And next week, I will be back again at the same time. So please join me again when we're going to talk about another interesting topic. And until then, I wish everybody a happy weekend and stay healthy and happy. And don't make any of these mistakes. Try to avoid them. And then I'll see you all again, hopefully next week. And if anybody has any questions, wants to reach out here, Instagram at Linda Goes East, feel free to send me a message and I'll get back to you. And then, yeah, I thank you very much. And I'll talk to you later. Thank you.